everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the fall campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game. We picked up 3 experience in Return to the Last King last week, along with putting a stop to the presumed tour of the King in Yellow. Anyway, this week we're on to the 3rd scenario of the campaign, Return to Echoes of the Past. First up, let's set the scene.
Scenario 3, Echoes of the Past. Your head throbs with a dull ache as you drive through the rainy streets of Arkham toward your next destination. The threat of the stranger looms in your mind, and you find yourself glancing often at your rearview mirror, expecting to see the expressionless visage of his mask haunting you. Instead, you see nothing but the misty, starless night and the deserted road behind you. Your thoughts once again wander, as they have often in the past few hours, to the King in Yellow and to the city of Carcosa and its inhabitants. What was the message hidden inside that awful play? The meaning was in its madness. A lone detail worms its way to the forefront of your thoughts, one made apparent by the discussions you'd overheard at Miss Dumain's estate, that tonight's performance of the King in Yellow was not the first Arkham had seen of the foul play. There had been at least one other performance, directed by the same man, Nigel Ingram. There is one place in Arkham where records are often kept of important events occurring within the city. The Historical Society's Manor House in Southside. If there are any records of the previous show of the King in Yellow, the Historical Society may have held on to them. Perhaps there you will find answers to the questions that burn in your mind. Check campaign log. If Sebastian Moreau is listed under VIPs interviewed, proceed to Sebastian's information. Otherwise, skip to setup.
As I was checking the campaign log, Sebastian is not among the NPCs we interviewed, so we don't get Sebastian's information out of that. Next up, let's go ahead and remind everyone what the tarot reading was. So on the good side, we left the Hanged Man 12, which means that during setup last night, our investigators were both able to take up to 2 additional mulligans, but I ended up being pretty happy with their opening hands pretty quickly. On the bad side, we flipped the Lover's 6, which means when the game begins, each investigator will search their deck for an ally asset, remove it from the game, and shuffle. That'll pull an ally out of Jacqueline's deck, but it'll pull Shocking Discovery out of Mandy's. So it's not completely a terrible... Sorry about that, I had to make an editing note of a coughing fit to cut out. As I was saying, the Lover's 6 will pull an ally out of Jacqueline's deck, but it'll pull Shocking Discovery out of Mandy's once we declare start of game. Next up, we'll take a look at opening hands. Jacqueline will be our lead investigator again, so she's going to be starting off with, once it decides to focus, a Spectral Razor, 2 cost to play, will and combat on commit. Fight plus will for the attack. Immediately before the attack, you may engage the attacked enemy. This attack deals +1 damage, +2 instead if the enemy is non-elite. Then we've got Read the Signs, which is basically the same thing for investigation. 2 cost to play, will and lore on commit. Investigate plus will, ignoring any effect on your keyword or keyword on your location which would trigger. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue. The Black Book Signed in Blood. 3 cost to play, will, lore, wildcard on commit. You get +1 lore and +1 will, and as a reaction, when you play this card, exhaust the Black Book and take X horror, reduce the card's cost by X. Then Word of Command, 2 cost to play, name a spell card, search your deck for 1 copy of the named card and draw it, shuffling your deck, and Emergency Cash level 2, 0 cost to play, gain 3 resources and draw a card. For Mandy's opening hand, she's always happy to see her homie at the start of the game. Dr. Milan Christopher, Professor of Entomology. 4 cost to play, lore on commit. +1 lore, and after you successfully investigate, gain a resource. Which combos very nicely with Deduction level 2, 2 lore on commit. If you're successful while investigating, discover an additional clue, 2 instead if you succeed by 2 or more. Eureka, which gives her a will, lore, or agility on commit. If the skill test is successful, The investigator performing this test searches the top 3 cards of their deck for a card, draws it, and shuffles the deck. Pantalone, 1 cost to play, lore wildcard on commit. Limit 1 mask in play. After Pantalone enters play, draw 2 cards. When you initiate a non-lore test, discard Pantalone to use lore for this test instead of the skill indicated. And Empirical Hypothesis, it's a customizable card. 2 cost to play, lore on commit. Customizable, limit 1 per investigator. Force at the end of the round. Choose one of the following criteria for the round. You fail a test by 2 or more. You succeed by 3 or more. Thanks to customizable. It's not showing here, but we also have dealt damage or horror. You discard a treachery or enemy from play, or you enter a location with 3 or more shroud. And the criteria is met if any investigator at your location meets it instead of just you. And other investigators at your location may trigger the free action abilities on Empirical Hypothesis, which when the chosen criteria is met, you may exhaust Empirical Hypothesis to add 1 evidence to it. And as a fast action, spend an evidence to draw a card. Next up, we'll take a look at our Act and Agenda decks. So Agenda 1A, The Truth is Hidden. Surprisingly, the front doors of the Historical Society's Georgian Manor are cracked halfway open when you arrive. Who else could be here at this hour? Skip the place 1 doom on the current agenda step of the Mythos phase. Forced. After 1 or more clues are placed on an enemy in play, flip those clues to their doom side. 2 per investigator, or 4 doom to advance that. And that will be only in play. But we have as the Act, we have a race for answers. Each of the Historical Society's many rooms contain records and documents that may aid you in your search for answers about the King in Yellow. There must be something here that can guide you toward the truth. 2 per investigator, aka 4 clues to advance. Hopefully with at least Mandy's hand we can start getting some clues pretty quickly, but last thing we need to do is send Mandy and Jacqueline over to the map, and we'll go join the ladies over there. I do apologize for the glare on this card, but I'm not unsleeving it. Well, let me see if I can move that light back. I can't go back too far with it because I'm right at the end of the table there. But we do have a Quiet Halls location up here, and we'll go through everything as we move into it. I'm not going to go through every single location on the map as usual. But we do have an unusual visitor on these Arkham Horror card game videos. The Dice Tower is over here for a visit. We'll come back to that in a second. That actually relates to something that happened during setup. So, Mandy and Jacqueline are starting at the entry hall. The entry hall is connected to each other ground floor location. A warm hall and 2 grand staircases greet you as you enter the Manor House of Arkham's Historical Society. This flips into Shroud of 2, no clues. As an action, resign. You flee, leaving the mysteries of the past to the mysterious cultists. No clues there. And then all of the Historical Society locations have the same flavor, have the same text on the unrevealed side. Different keywords, obviously, but they have the same forced. When an enemy spawns at this location, reveal this location. An unadorned wooden door leads to one of the ground floor rooms used by the Historical Society. It'll be second, third, and basement. So the flavor text is all mostly the same on that side. Okay, I've got there was something else I had to put aside, but we'll come back to that. So now coming back to the Dice Tower, as part of setup, we were instructed to spawn the Seeker of Carcosa at a 3rd floor Historical Society location. So we'll take a quick look at Seeker of Carcosa. 232 Humanoid Cultist. Spawn any empty Historical Society location, except as I said, setup is going to the 3rd floor. Aloof. Forced. At the start of the Mythos phase, move 1 clue from Seeker of Carcosa's location to Seeker of Carcosa. If you can't, place 1 doom on Seeker of Carcosa instead. And if you remember the agenda, that will immediately flip over to become a doom. But we need to spawn him at one of the Historical Society locations, and that's where the Dice Tower is going to come into play. So we're going to roll a d6 for that. On odds, we're going to put him over at this Historical Society location. Evens, we're going to spawn him over here. Odds, so we're going to spawn him over here. Anyway, I can bring the dice tower and everything related to that out of shot. So we're going to spawn him over here, and then this will flip into Shroud of 4 clues. While an investigator at this location controls Mr. Peabody, this location gets -2 Shroud. This office must belong to somebody important within the Historical Society. We'll get the 4 clues out for that. All right. We'll put him there. That should be everything set up now. So now we're going to declare start of game, which means Jacqueline will be removing an ally from her deck. And the ally we're going to take out is once again going to be the Arcane Initiate. I'm going to put that in the victory display, just so I know it's basically out of the game. And a cut, and we're all set there. As for Mandy, of course, as you remember, we know how this interaction works, so Mandy is going to be getting Shocking Discovery, there it is, out of her deck. We'll go through that in a second. And a cut for Mandy. Shocking Discovery says, when you search your deck and this card is among the searched cards, discard it, cancel the search and all of its effects, shuffle the searched deck, which we did, draw the top card of the encounter deck. So Mandy already gets an encounter. We'll go ahead and get that out. So Mandy will draw. The Cult Search. If there's a cult revelation, if there's a cultist enemy in play with Doom on it, there's not. Move all Doom from each cultist enemy to the current agenda. This effect may cause the current agenda to advance. If there are no cultist enemies with Doom on them, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a cultist enemy and draw it, shuffling the encounter deck. So I'm just going to grab the first cultist I see. Oh, fantastic. Alright, so that's shuffled, and we find another Seeker of Carcosa. How fun. So we actually need the dice tower right back in shot. Pardon the sliding you're about to hear. I'm opening the window, I'm opening the door, the closet door, so I can get my dice. Actually, never mind. Dice tray's right here. What I'm looking for out of here is a D8. So we need the tower right back in shot. And we have to spawn him at, what did I do? Any empty Historical Society location. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's one hidden under the tower. 6, 7, 8 will be a reroll. A 2, so we're spawning him up here. I'll bring that right back out of shot. Hopefully I won't need that again, but I don't want to... I'm not going to go too far with it because I probably will need it. So he will spawn here. And then this will flip into Historical Society, Historical Museum, Shroud of 2 clues. While investigating this location, your lore cannot be increased. Most of the objects on display here are from the early 18th century. spanning Arkham's colonization and early history. We'll get the 2 clues for that. Now I think we're all set to go, so what do we want to do this round? Looking at the map, we got 2 Seekers of Carcosa. We definitely need to go take one of them out if we can. Unfortunately, it's going to be at least 2 actions to get to one of them. So I think the best we can do right now is have Jacqueline start us off, and we'll start her down right here at the map. Action 1 for Jacqueline. She's going to play her emergency cash level 2 to gain 3 resources and draw a card. You can never be too prepared. So that'll bring Jacqueline up to 8 resources, and she will draw Twila Catherine Price, Lost in a Dream. You are a sight for sore eyes, my friend. 3 cost to play, lore and agility on commit. Reaction, after you spend 1 or more charges from a spell asset, exhaust Twila, place 1 charge on that asset. She's going to be a couple turns before she enters the game, though, because Action 2 will bring us up to the Quiet Halls. Other than the creaking of the wooden floor beneath your steps, the manor is eerily silent. Alright, and then this flips into Shroud of 3, no clues. Quiet Halls is connected to each other second floor location. As an action, if each location in play is revealed and there are no clues on locations in play, place 2 clues, 1 per investigator, on Quiet Halls from the token bank. Then action 3, she'll move over to this historical society, plan on taking out this Seeker of Carcosa. That will do it for Jacqueline. Mandy, we need to get moving on clues right away. So for action 1, she's going to spend 4 resources. Actually, before she does anything, she's going to exhaust Ancestral Knowledge to get a skill from under it. So Mandy will draw Surprising Find as a Myriad, wildcard on commit. When you search your deck and Surprising Find is among the searched cards, put it into play in your threat area. You must commit it to the next eligible skill test you perform. If that test is successful, draw 1 card. Max 1 research ability per search. What did I do with... Here's Mandy's hand. Alright, now action 1, she'll spend 4 resources to play out Milan. While I truly pray that this nightmare is just a singular abomination, I must admit that I am exhilarated by the possibility that this is but one specimen of a new genus. So that will go into play in her ally slot. Action 2, she'll move over to the Historical Society on the ground floor over here. This will flip into Shroud of the Record Office. Shroud of 2, 2 clues. Each enemy at this location gets +1 fight and +1 evade. This confined room contains numerous files that might have been helpful to your investigation were it not for the thick, awful sludge filling the file cabinet drawers. We'll get 2 clues there. And then since we're about to get a tempo jump, since our enemies are about to get a tempo jump on us, I think we have to try to take one of our own, just to try to keep pace. So action 3, she's going to investigate. I hate wasting a deduction on the 2 shroud location, especially when it's going to put us up 6. Well, actually, do I want to burn a deduction here? Because the plan right now is for Jacqueline. The plan is Jacqueline's going to kill this Seeker of Carcosa on her next turn. So I don't think we're going to be that behind on tempo. So I think we're going to keep the deduction for now, but we are going to go up 4. Elder Sign. Let's see what we've got here. Mandy's Elder Sign is +0. Search the top 3 cards of your deck for a card and either draw it or commit it to this test if able. Shuffle your deck. Okay, so Mandy is going to go... What do I even want right now? I think I want ways to defend herself, so I'm going to go 6 deep. And I can skip weaknesses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can skip weaknesses because Shocking Discovery came out of her deck on the first turn. So first card up is Eon Shard. Ooh, this is tempting. 2 cost to play. Will or Lore, Agility, Wildcard on commit. Uses 3 secrets. During your turn, exhaust Eon Shard and spend a secret. Choose and take 2 of the following actions in any order. Move, evade, or investigate. That's actually really tempting. Next up, Strange Solution, Acidic Ichor. 1 cost to play, 2 combat on commit. Researched, uses 3 supplies. As an action, spend 1 supply to fight, attacking with a base combat skill of 6, and the attack deals +2 damage. Another Deduction, which we were thinking about using earlier, but I decided not to. Opportunist, which I can commit, and it'll come right back to my hand because I'm going to end up succeeding by 3 or more. Quick Thinking, which could give me another action if I want it. If this test is successful by 2 or more, which it will be, after it resolves, I can immediately take an action as if it were my turn. This action doesn't count toward the number of actions I can take each turn. And Hiking Boots, 2 cost to play, agility on commit. 1 footwear per investigator, per investigator, +1 agility. And after the last clue is discovered from your location, exhaust Hiking Boots to a connecting location with at least 1 clue or to a connecting unrevealed location. This is actually, there are a lot of tempting choices here. I think what I want for now, though, is, do I want quick? I think I want Quick Thinking here. So I'll commit. I'll commit that to the test. Which means I'll shuffle all of this up. We'll end up getting a tempo jump out of this anyway. All right, so Mandy succeeds, which will give her succeeded at the investigation, which gave her a clue, and then since she ended up succeeding by 5, she gets another action from Quick Thinking, which she'll run the investigation back. So now she's only up 4. Skull. Skull is -X, where X is the total number of Doom on enemies in play, which right now is 0. So that will give Mandy another clue and another resource from Milan. So that will do it for Mandy. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, we have 2 enemies in play, but they're both aloof. We'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Jacqueline gains 1 resource and goes to 9. Mandy will gain 1 resource and go to 4. Mandy's almost at her starting resources with a big lore in play. So Jacqueline will draw. Her Enchanted Bow, 3 cost to play, agility, will and agility on commit. Uses 3 charges. As an action, she can exhaust the bow to fight, using either will or agility instead of combat for this attack, and get +1 skill value for the attack. This attack deals +1 damage. As an additional cost to initiate this ability, you may spend 1 charge to have this attack target a non-elite enemy at a connecting location. And if you do, ignore aloof and retaliate for this attack. Takes both hands and an arcane slot. Mandy draws. Pathfinder, 3 cost to play, agility on commit. During your turn, if you're not engaged with any enemies, exhaust Pathfinder to move to a connecting location. Mythos phase, we skip the place 1 doom on the current agenda phase. Jacqueline draws. Locked door. Attached to a location with the most clues and without a locked door attached to it. The attached location can't be investigated. As a revelation, test agility 4 to pick the locks, or combat 4 to break down the door. If you succeed, discard locked door. So that will go up to Peabody's office. Mandy will draw. Visions in your head. Fantastic. Peril hidden. Visions in your mind. Failure. Revelation. Secretly add this card to your hand. Forced. When your turn ends, if you do not perform at least 1 resource action during your turn, discard this card from your hand and take 1 direct damage and 1 direct horror. Okay, that's nothing we can do there. Alright, so now we're at the end of the Mythos phase, which means 1 clue will come off of each of these locations, which will turn into a doom on the Seekers of Carcosa. Then we'll exhaust Ancestral Knowledge again to have Mandy draw another skill. So she will draw. Survey the area. While this is in your hand or committed to a skill test, gains lore icons equal to your agility, which right now would be 3, and agility equal to your lore, which would be 6. So Mandy could go pick that lock, but she'd need to get up there and nothing flat. Anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase, and let's see if Jacqueline can start us off by getting us a bit ahead on tempo as we move over to the map. Action 1, Jacqueline's going to flip off the Seeker of Carcosa and engage him. Action 2, she's going to spend 2 resources for a Spectral Razor. Once again, we're fighting plus will, and we will be doing 3 damage because the Seeker of Carcosa is non-elite. I'm also going to put Jacqueline's ability behind this because I want to make sure the Seeker of Carcosa bites it. So right now she's up 5. One, two, three. First token up. Skull, which right now is a -2 because of the total amount of doom in play. -1 and a +1. So we'll cancel the skull and the -1, revealing the +1. The Seeker of Carcosa is very dead, and the doom's gone. And then for action 3, Jacqueline's going to pay 3 resources to play out her enchanted bow. Twilla's next on the docket, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself there. Unfortunately, Jacqueline's out of actions, but we'll get the 3 charges for that. And then that will do it for Jacqueline. Mandy, it's a good thing we're right here at the map. So action 1, she's going to start off by paying 3 resources. Where is it? For Pathfinder. We just saw this earlier. Then she's going to immediately exhaust Pathfinder to move out to the entry hall. Action 2, she'll go over to this historical society and we'll see what's over here. Shroud of 2. Another historical museum. Shroud of 2, 2 clues. While investigating this location, your lore can't be increased. Let's see. Action 3. Action 3, I think we'll just investigate. We're not going to take a resource action here. We're up 4. Another Elder Sign, which we saw earlier. So Mandy will... I think this time Mandy's going to take... What does she want here? Does she want 2 targets or does she want to go 3 deep again? I think we'll go 6 deep. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. First card up. Hiking Boots again. I swear I shuffled this. You guys watched me shuffle it. Next up. Dream Diary, Dreams of an Explorer, 2 cost to play, will, agility on commit. You can only include this by upgrading it from Dream Diary only if we interpreted the dreams, which we did back in Return to Circle Undone last year. While you're at a location with at least 4 Shroud, your Essence of the Dream gains 2 question marks. And when your turn begins, search your bonded cards for Essence of the Dream and add it to your hand. Strange Solution Acidic Ichor is back again. Occult Evidence. This actually gives us something. Mandy Thompson deck only. If we play it, we'd shuffle it into her deck. But since we're searching her deck and Occult Evidence is among it, we get to reveal it, drawing it and discovering a clue at your location. So we get that anyway. Occult Lexicon. 2 cost to play, 2 lore on commit. Limit 1 per deck. When you play a copy of Bloodright, either change each 2 on it to a 3 or shuffle it into your deck instead of discarding it. If enforced after it enters play, search your bonded cards for 3 copies of it. Add 1 to your hand and shuffle the other 2 into your deck. And you handle this one. 0 cost to play, lore, agility on commit. Fast, play after you draw a non-peril encounter card, but before resolving that card's effects. Choose another investigator. That investigator is considered to have drawn that encounter card instead. Gain 1 resource. Right, so when you search your deck and Occult Evidence is among the... Okay, so we get Occult Evidence, which gives us a clue from the location. Then we can immediately... We'll be able to advance that, but I'm going to wait on advancing. Then which card of the other 5 do we want? I think here I want the... I think here I want the Occult Lexicon. So the rest of those will go, and then this triggers end of turn. Okay. Alright, so we're grabbing the Occult Lexicon, and here I'm doing another shuffle of the deck, just so we don't see the hiking boots. Hopefully we see different stuff. Well, I don't know, I wouldn't mind getting Eon Chart back here, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. But coming out of that, we'll give that a cut as well. Alright, so Mandy discards that. She gets the clue and another resource from Milan. And that's it for Mandy. That's it for the investigation phase. Before we resolve the enemy phase, Mandy does have to discard Visions of in Your Mind Failure, taking 1 direct damage and 1 direct horror because I didn't take a resource action this turn. Alright, that will do it for Mandy. Enemy phase, we only have the Seeker of Carcosa in play right now. So now everything will ready back up. Surprised we actually used both of their special abilities this time. Then we'll move back up top after I ready Ancestral Knowledge for the upkeep phase. Jacqueline gains 1 resource and goes to 5. Mandy gains 1 and goes up to 3. If I can ever flip it, there we go. Jacqueline will draw. Drawn to the Flame. 0 cost to play, lore, will on commit. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. That's actually a way around the locked door if I think we need it, but I'm not sure how much we're going to need that. Mandy draws. Another Pathfinder. This could be very, very handy. Let me make sure Mandy's not at hand size. She's actually picked up a couple of cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She is at hand size, but she won't have to discard until the next upkeep phase. Mythos phase, we skip the 1 Doom. We only have 1 in play thanks to the Seeker of Carcosa. Jacqueline draws. False Lead. If you have no clues, False Lead gains Surge, which she has no clues, so False Lead gains Surge, we find. An Acolyte spawning at any empty location. After it enters play, place 1 Doom on it. So we have... How many empty locations do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So once again, we'll bring the Dice Tower right back into shot. Actually, we can choose where we spawn this. Yeah, we'll just choose where it spawns. I think we'll spawn it... we're going to spawn it at the Historical Society on the 3rd floor, since Jacqueline's going to end up threading the needle there. Then we put a doom on it when it enters play. Mandy draws. Mysterious Chanting. Place 2 doom on the nearest cultist enemy. If there are no cultist enemies in play, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a cultist enemy and draw it, shuffling the encounter deck. We get to choose, I believe, since they're equidistant. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we are going to put 2 doom on the Seeker of Carcosa, since I'm planning on Jacqueline killing that this turn. Now, the Mysterious Chanting didn't say may cause the current agenda to advance, so there's no alarm there. At the end of the enemy phase, or at the end of the Mythos phase, the Seeker of Carcosa will pull another clue off the Historical Society, which will flip to a doom. And then we'll exhaust Ancestral Knowledge to get another skill from Mandy. So Mandy will draw. Another quick thinking, which we used to great effect earlier in the scenario. So with that, let's move into the investigation phase, and Jacqueline's turn will start us off at the map. Before we start anything relating to Jacqueline's turn, we're going to spend Mandy's 4 clues to advance the act. Let's see what we've got here. Late night studies. You find a record kept by one of the Society's historians pertaining to the dreadful events surrounding the closing of an old theater in Arkham, the Cedar Playhouse. Though there is no explicit mention of the King in Yellow, you believe you are on the right track. The historian's notes are cut short, and there is a faded, handwritten page clipped to the final entry. This matter is too ghastly for the public eye. I am placing the remainder of this record in the hidden library. All further inquiries should be done away from prying eyes, for this is a dangerous matter, and not one to be researched lightly. For each revealed Historical Society location, add 1 per investigator clues to it to a maximum of its clue value. Alright, so that puts 2 clues on each revealed... Oh! We also need to reveal the Historical Society up here for the Acolyte spawning there. I'll do that in a second. Jacqueline gets 2 clues there. That maxes at 2. 2. And 2 for Mandy. Alright, so now we need to reveal this Historical Society location. We find Record Office. It's another one of these locations. So each enemy here gets +1 fight and +1 evade. Alright, I think we've got all that straight now. So Jacqueline's turn is actually going to be fairly simple. Action 1, Action 2, and then for Action 3, she's going to spend a charge from the Enchanted Bow to target the Seeker of Carcosa, and I'm going to put Jacqueline's her special ability behind it. Remember, I have to exhaust the bow to fight, and I'm going to use Will on this test. I can spend a charge to have this enemy target a non-elite enemy at a connecting location, which is the Seeker of Carcosa is non-elite. And I can ignore Aloof and Retaliate for this attack. So, we're up 4, revealing 3 tokens, and ignoring Aloof. One, two, 3. All right. First token we find is a 0. Next up, a -2 and a cultist, which the cultist is... Oh, I was looking at the wrong side. So the skull is actually the highest number of enemy on a doom in play, which we've had a couple of skulls pull out. But the cultist is -2 if you fail, place 1 doom on the nearest enemy. So we'll cancel the cultist and the -2, reveal the 0, and the Seeker of Carcosa is very dead. Actually, no, it's not. We deal +1 damage, so we only did 2 damage to it, which means we are advancing next round. We would have been advancing anyway, but I just had to stop it here. So the Quiet Halls actually flips into Shroud of 3, no clues. It's the same thing as the quiet halls on the second floor. I thought we were killing that, but obviously I can't do math. But that will do it for Jacqueline. Mandy is going to clean herself out of resources for action 1 to play out her other Pathfinder. So now she's got both of them out. So I'm going to put that in an arcane slot. Then we're going to investigate for action 2. Is this worth popping a deduction? I think what it's more worth popping is a quick thinking, so I can get a little bit of a tempo jump. So I'm up 5 trying to discover a clue there. Actually, no, I'm only up 4 because my lore can't be increased. But I do get the effect, so if I succeed by 4 or more, I get an additional action. Which a +1 will give me another action. So this is still Mandy's second action, which means she will investigate again. She's up 4. I'll give her a resource in a second, but I want to make sure I'm giving her 2 instead of just 1. +1 means I'm giving her another clue and 2 resources. Then I'm going to double Pathfinder over to the Historical Society that we just left. And action 3 will run the investigation back again. This time I am going to pop her deduction to try to get both of those clues. So I can potentially advance the act again next turn. So I'm up 6. -2 gives me both clues, since I succeeded by 4. Alright, that will do it for Mandy. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, neither of our enemies are attacking because they're not hunters. So that'll let me reset everything. And we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Jacqueline will gain 1 resource and go to 6. Mandy will gain 1 and go to 3. Jacqueline will draw another enchanted bow, which she doesn't need right now. Mandy will draw Your Worst Nightmare. Oh, fantastic. 2/3/2. Hunter, prey bearer only. The bearer of Your Worst Nightmare can't attack, damage, or defeat it. Does 2 horror on attack. Mandy's right now screaming for help. That's going to be fun. Mythos phase, we are advancing the agenda. All of the doom comes off. Dark Ritual. A phrase in a language you cannot describe whispers through the building, and without warning, all of the electric lights shatter at once. You light a nearby candle and continue your search. The building is quite different once plunged into darkness. Shadows and silhouettes dance along the walls. Crevices you hadn't noticed before draw your wary eye. What other secrets does this building hold? Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the deck. Okay. All right. And we'll give that a cut. Okay, so now encounter cards, Jacqueline will draw a fanatic, spawn at the revealed location with the most clues. Forced after he enters play, move a clue from Fanatic's location to Fanatic. And when you defeat Fanatic, take control of all of its clues, does a damage on attack, 3/2/3. So the revealed location with the most clues is the Historical Society. He'll take a clue, and that'll turn into a doom. Mandy will then draw. Maddening Delusions, Surge. Revelation, if you have one or more hidden cards in hand, take one horror. She has none, but it does surge, so Mandy surges into. Hunting Shadow. Peril. Revelation, you must either choose one. Spend a clue or take 2 damage. A shadowy figure follows you in the rain. When you look at it, your head pounds in agony and your vision blurs. Mandy's going to take 2 damage because your worst nightmare only deals horror, so I'm not as worried about that. Then end of the Mythos phase, Seeker of Carcosa gets another clue on him, which turns into a doom. And then we will spend the 4 clues to advance the agenda, or the act. So let's see what we've got here. We find secret passageways. As you rummage through a desk drawer, you are startled when you hear a voice behind you. Excuse me, can I help you? You are relieved to find the voice belonging to a thin, elderly man wearing wide-rimmed glasses. A member of the Historical Society, no doubt. You explain to him that you are searching for a hidden library somewhere in the manor, though you purposely leave out why. He introduces himself as Mr. Peabody, the Historical Society's curator. I'll help you find what you're looking for, he explains, but only if you tell me what this is all about once we get there. You hope it doesn't come to that. For each revealed Historical Society location, add 1 per investigator clues to it, to a maximum of its clue value. Choose an investigator to take control of the set-aside Mr. Peabody asset, and put the set-aside hidden library location into play. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is add 2 clues to each revealed Historical Society location. Yes. So that one gets 2 clues. That, I think, never had its initial 2 clues. That one's already maxed. 2 and 2. All right, so now we need the... Oh, it's up in my pile of stuff here. Okay, now that we've got that figured out, we put the set-aside hidden library into play. All right, now that we've got that, okay, should that... Oh, after we advance to Act 2, we have to spawn a set-aside Keeper of the Oath. That was the other rule we have here, which we'll deal with in a second. We should have had... Shoot, we should have had one earlier. So we'll just spawn both of these now. I forgot about this. After the investigators advance to Act 2 or 3, spawn a set-aside Keeper of the Oath in any empty Historical Society location. I did forget that. I'm not going to replay the scenario because there's too much to go through. So we'll take a look at Keeper of the Oath. 535 Humanoid Cultist. While the number of the current act is greater than the number of the current agenda, Keeper of the Oath gains Hunter. Forced, at the end of the enemy phase, find each investigator whose location shares a trait with Keeper of the Oath's location. Move 1 clue from each of those investigators to Keeper of the Oath. Victory 0, 1 and 1 on attack. So we'll spawn him at... We'll spawn them at the basement Historical Society locations. We'll move, once we move over to the map, actually we've got to figure out where we're going to have a lot to point out at the map. So we need to look at this, the hidden library goes into play. We'll put that over there. I'll have to look at the... Actually, we're going to be moving over to the map before we start the Mythos phase, but we'll take a look at Mr. Peabody, Historical Society Curator. As an action, exhaust Mr. Peabody to choose a location. Until Mr. Peabody readies, that location gets -1 Shroud and gains the Passageway trait. This building contains many secrets. I will show you some, but even I don't know them all. 2 and 2 and takes up an ally slot, but he's a story asset. I think I'm going to give him to I think I'm going to give him to Jacqueline. Yeah, I think giving him to Jacqueline is probably going to be the better play here. I've got a little bit of a plan with this. But, let's see. Fade. Yeah, I think I can work with this. Alright, so before we start the investigation phase, let's move over to the map just to point out some of the new stuff. Alright, so looking at the locations where the Keepers of the Oath spawned, we find Historical Society Museum Storage, Shroud of 5, 4 clues. When you investigate this location, if there's at least one cultist in play, this location gets -3 Shroud for this investigation, and if a bad symbol is revealed during the test, move 1 clue from this location to the cultist enemy farthest from you before resolving the effects of the test. Then over here, the flavor text is slightly different. An unadorned wouldn't actually to one of the basement rooms, never mind. The boiler room, Shroud of 1, 2 clues. After you discover 1 or more clues at this location, 1 at a time, draw that many cards from the top of the encounter deck. So we'll get the clues for this, and 4 clues, 2 clues there. Okay, now that we're over here at the map, Jacqueline, actually we have the hidden passage, the hidden library to look at. While an enemy is moving, hidden library gains the passageway trait. Most of the researchers in the Historical Society don't even know of this library's existence. What terrible truths could it be hiding? Well, in that case, I think that makes my turn a little bit clearer. So, before we leave the Mythos phase, Mandy will exhaust Ancestral Knowledge to draw another skill from under it, so she will draw Momentum, as wildcard on commit. If the skill test is successful, reduce the difficulty of the next skill test you perform this phase by X, where X is the amount the skill test succeeded by to a maximum of 3. Okay. Alright, so I think with that in mind, we'll move into the investigation phase now, and Jacqueline's turn will keep us right here at the map. I don't want to just move to the hidden library yet, because of the effects on the Keeper of the Oath. I want to move there when I'm ready to clean it out of clues, and I've got Jacqueline can get 4 clues in 1 turn. So what I want to do, what does Mandy have in her hand for clues? Well, she's probably got a high enough lore that if I can get them together, I can probably go clean that out. I should be able to go clean that out in 1 turn, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to spend 3 resources. Actually, no, I think what I want to do here is I'm going to spend 2 resources on a word of command. So I'm going to name a spell card, searching my deck for 1 copy of the named card and drawing it, and shuffle my deck. Light for the saving of our eyes, heat for the saving of our skin, a spark for the saving of our souls. Given that we're probably about to have a party in the hidden library in like 1 or 2 more turns, I think the spell I want to go get is Storm of Spirits. So we're going to get ready for that. We'll take a quick look at Storm of Spirits, as it's going to be joining Jacqueline's hand in a second. Let's see, we're going to be at... It might not be a terrible idea to take out this Seeker of Carcosa now. Alright, so Jacqueline's deck is searched, and we find Storm of Spirits. 3 cost to play, Will, and 2 combat on commit. Fight using Will instead of combat. You get +2 Will for the attack, and if you succeed, instead of dealing its standard damage, deal 3 damage to every enemy at your location. Any additional damage is dealt to the attacked enemy. But if you pull a bad symbol, deal 2 damage to each investigator at the location. That was action 1. Action 2, we are going to use another charge from the bow. That goes there. To try to take out the Seeker of Carcosa, and I'm going to throw Jacqueline's ability behind this. So we're up 4 and pulling 3 tokens from the bag. One, two, three. Token 1. Does not want to focus. Ooh, it's her Elder Sign. We'll take a look at that in a second. -2 and Occultist. So let's take a look at her Elder Sign first. I have an extra copy of Jacqueline's card that I keep just for that. Her Elder Sign is -1. If this effect is cancelled or ignored, draw 1 card. So she is going to cancel the Cultist and the Elder Sign, revealing the -2, which means the Seeker of Carcosa has been defeated. Let's go there. That goes back to the discard pile. And then since we canceled Jacqueline's Elder Sign, we get to draw a card, so we draw. Another Drawn to the Flame. Oh yeah, if the hidden library has at least 6 clues on it, we should be able to clean it out next round. Then action 3. If I can get Mandy away, I think turning this into the secret passageway and going to work on the hidden library is probably the play. So action 3, Jacqueline will move down to 2nd floor Quiet Halls. That will do it for her. Mandy's top objective this turn is to get away from her worst nightmares. So action 1, she's going to try to evade committing Survey the Area to the test. She's up a lot trying to get that clear. She's up, let's see, that gave her 6 lore, 9-2, she's up 7. Skull is, now that we're on the right side, we'll take another look at Skull. Where X is the highest number of doom on an enemy in play, which right now is 1 thanks to the Fanatic. So Mandy gets away from her worst nightmare. Then she'll double Pathfinder up, make friends with, and meet up with Jacqueline. Action 2. Mandy's going to spend 2 resources to play her Occult Lexicon, which will give her copies of Bloodright. One of which we'll take a look at. Well, the one that's going into her hand we'll take a look at before we give her deck a shuffle. Alright, 0 cost to play. Will, Lore, Combat, and Commit. Bonded, of course, to Occult Lexicon. Draw 2 or 3 cards. Discard up to 2 or 3 cards from your hand. For each card you discard this way, you may either gain a resource or spend a resource to deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. Does not provoke attacks of opportunity. And if I use these as 2s, I get to shuffle it into my deck instead of discarding it. So we'll give that a shuffle. Alright, so that was her second action. Her third action, Mandy's just going to take a resource. That will do it for Mandy, that'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, we do have hunters in play now. Your worst nightmare is exhausted. The Keeper of the Oaths is both moved to the basement Quiet Halls. Then everything will ready up. I can never do this. And we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Jacqueline gains 1 resource and goes to 5, if I can ever get it out here. The enchanted bow should be unexhausted as well. Mandy gains 1 and goes to 3. Jacqueline draws. Shriveling level 5. 3 cost to play. Will 2 combat on commit. Uses 4 charges. As an action, spend a charge to fight. Using will instead of combat. +3 will and +2 damage for the attack. But if you pull a bad symbol during the attack, take 2 horror. Mandy draws. Amnesia. Oh joy. Choose and discard all but 1 card from your hand. Wait. Where am I? What was I doing? That's delightful. So I think the card we want to keep here... I think I'm going to keep Pantalone just because that lets me draw 2 cards. So that'll let me recover-ish from that. Mythos phase, we skip the placing a doom. Jacqueline draws. A fanatic, spawn at the revealed location with the most clues, which is either 4. It was the same thing we had earlier. I will put it at the... I'll put it up here at the Historical Society. Takes a clue and makes it into a doom. Mandy draws. Visions in your mind. Peril hidden. Revelation. Secretly add this card to your hand. When your turn ends, if you did not perform at least 1 move action during your turn, discard this card from your hand and take 1 and 1. Right, that's at the end of the enemy phase. That should have been... The Keeper of the Oath should have been done, but... I mean, each investigator whose location shares a trait with Keeper of the Oath's location, basement to 2nd floor, so nothing happens there. Right, so that will do it for the Mythos phase. We'll go ahead and exhaust Ancestral Knowledge to draw Mandy's last skill, so she will draw. Another Eureka. Alright, into the investigation phase... And I think Jacqueline's going to start getting us to work over at the map. I don't think we ever went through the new act, which I'm kind of puzzling over right now. Especially since I'm seeing something here that makes me think that the scenario is going to be over probably in about 1 or 2 more turns, but... Let's take a quick look at the Act. Act 3A, The Oath. This building is very old and filled with all manner of secret passageways, Mr. Peabody explains. Perhaps one of them will lead to this library you're looking for. Locations with the passageway trait are connected to one another. Objective. Only investigators in the hidden library may spend the requisite number of clues as a group to advance, and we need 6. So what I'm looking at on the hidden library is locations with the passageway trait are connected to each other, but Mr. Peabody only has that but the location we name only has that until Mr. Peabody readies. So, when he readies the next turn, for some reason I'm thinking that means the enemies can't get to us and we just have free reign. Well, enemies are moving. Hidden library gains... Oh, no, never mind. Okay, so, never mind. The enemies will be able to get to us, which is part of why I grabbed that Storm of Spirits. So for Action 1, Jacqueline will exhaust Mr. Peabody to give this Quiet Halls this passageway trait. Action 2, she'll move over to the hidden library. And let's see what we've got here. We have... Shroud of 4, 6 clues. While an enemy is moving, hidden library gains the passageway trait. The space was a small reading room, carpeted with cobwebs and dust. Filled bookshelves lined the walls, but a few books lay scattered on the floor as though their readers had abandoned them in a hurry. Lisa Farrell, The Investigators of Arkham Horror, Victory 2. Let's see, for Action 3, actually, we're going to need more clues for this, I think. Well, the number is greater at the end of the enemy phase. Find each investigator whose location shares a trait with Keeper of the Oath's location. Actually, it might have been a better idea to send... Okay, I'm rethinking this because I don't going to get the 6 clues for that. I was going to try to clean that out of clues, but I think right now... Oh, it's moved from the investigator. So I think if we leave Jacqueline here to draw the hunters to her, well, most of the hunters to her, we can probably still make this work. Right, so then for action 3... Actually, action 3 was going to be to get clues before I reread the Keeper of the Oath. So I think action 3 instead is going to be to play... What is action 3 going to be anyway? Probably going to be to play some kind of self-defense, and I think it's going to be... I think for 3 resources we're going to play out Shriveling. I was thinking about this. It was either going to be Shriveling or Twila. I think for now it's going to be Shriveling, but her hand slots are full right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This way I still have enough resources to play Storm of Spirits on Jacqueline's next turn, which that will do it for Jacqueline. Mandy is going to take a move action. Is going to, action 1, move over to the Historical Society. Action 2, she's going to investigate, committing Eureka to the test. She can increase her lore, but she will get the search effect on this, so she's up 4. Skull is minus X, where X is the highest number of doom on an enemy in play, which is 1 on both the Fanatics. So Mandy will get a clue. She'll get a resource from that. And then she gets to use her search. Do I want to go 3 deeper or take 2 targets? I think I want to go... I think we're going to go 3 deeper. Actually, I'm going to take 2 targets. Actually, no, I'm going to go 3 deeper. I want to try to recover Mandy's hand in a good way. So first card up is a Bloodright, which we can pull right back. Second up, another Survey the Area, which could be helpful. Eye of Truth, 4 question marks on commit. If the skill test is on a Treachery and successful, add that Treachery to the victory display with the Eye of Truth attached to it. While attached, the Eye of Truth contributes its skill icons to all tests on copies of the attached Treachery. Unspeakable Oath Curiosity, which I want nothing to do with. Dream Diary, Dreams of an Explorer, and Research Librarian. After he enters play, search your deck for a tome asset and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. 2 cost to play, agility on commit. 1 and 1 on soak. We didn't double Pathfinder yet this turn. I don't know if we are or not. Which card do I want? I think I want Bloodright back. The rest of these can get shuffled back in. Actually, if it's coming off the investigators, that gives me an idea. If the clues from Keeper of the Oath come off the investigators, I just need to wait until the Keepers of the Oath are defeated before I grab those clues, before I start grabbing clues. Alright, so let's see. So we moved investigate. I think we will... Do I mind Mandy taking 2 horror? I don't think I do. So action 3, she's going to investigate. She's still up 4. -1 gives her the last clue. And another resource from Milan, so she goes up to 5. We actually used her special ability. She'll then double Pathfinder and go meet up with Jacqueline in the hidden library. So that will do it for Mandy. That will do it for the investigation phase. She did take a move action, so hidden visions in your mind death doesn't trigger. Enemy phase, enemies have the passageway trait while they're moving, so your worst nightmare makes friends with Mandy. I'll give both the Keepers of the Oath to Jacqueline. So now on attacks, Jacqueline will take 2 and 2. And Mandy will take 2 horror from your worst nightmare. The Fanatics are not hunters, neither is the Acolyte, so they don't move. We'll go ahead and reset everything here. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Jacqueline will gain 1 resource and go to 3. Mandy will gain 1 and go to 6. Jacqueline will draw. Emergency cast level 2, we saw this earlier. Mandy will draw. Death 13, Free from the Past. 3 cost to play, no commit. Get +1 lore. When the game begins, if Death 13 is in your opening hand, put it into play. Mythos phase, we skipped the place 1 doom on the agenda. We have 2 in play right now, so we're not advancing. Jacqueline draws. Visions in your mind, Hatred. Peril hidden. Secretly add this card to your hand. Forced. When your turn ends, if you did not perform at least 1 draw action during your turn, discard this card from your hand and take 1 direct damage and 1 direct horror. So it's her turn to have visions. Mandy draws. Maddening Delusions. Surge. Revelation. If you have 1 or more hidden cards in your hand, take 1 horror. She does have a hidden card in her hand, so she'll take a horror. And then that will surge into False Lead. If you have no clues, test False Lead gains surge. If you have 1 or more clues, test Lore 4. For each point you fail by, place 1 of your clues on your location. Mandy right now is up 2, and I will use Pantalone to put her up 4. Actually, Mr. Peabody should be ready as well. As tempting as it would be to put Jacqueline's ability behind this, I think I'd rather use it when we go into her turn for her first action. So I'll settle for her being up 4. +1 means we don't have to place a clue on our location, which would be bad because that's a victory location. But that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase now, and I will meet you guys down at Jacqueline's play area with having changed my battery. Alright, Miss Jacqueline, I'm feeling a little bit of a storm here, so we'll start off with Action 1 by spending your 3 resources to play Storm of Spirits. So using Will instead of Combat, getting +2 Will for the attack, and if you succeed, instead of its usual damage, deal 3 damage to every enemy at your location. If a bad symbol is revealed, we have to deal 2 damage to each investigator. I'm going to put her ability behind this, and I'm actually going to target your worst nightmare. This is why I didn't use Jacqueline's ability on Mandy's False Lead. Because again, friendly fire is a thing in this game, and I wanted to make sure I had your worst nightmare here since it had the lowest fight value and everything has 3 health. So, Jacqueline is pulling 3 tokens. One, two, three. First token up. There's a -1. We are up, by the way, 5 on this attack. Second token. There's another -1, and the tentacle. So we do have to cancel the tentacle, But a -2 is far from enough to fail us on this test, so both of the Keepers of the Oath are defeated, and they go to the victory display. Your Worst Nightmare is also defeated. Jacqueline and Mandy won't take 2 damage from that because the tentacle was actually never revealed for the test. Just to explain how all of that works. Then for action 2, Jacqueline is going to start off by reading some signs. So she's going to be at 8 going into the test, and I will commit... I'm going to commit the Black Book for the 2 lore to put her at 10. She's up 5. She's up 6, actually. And I don't have Jacqueline's ability to put behind this. I don't have her ability to put behind this. So, hopefully up 6 will be plenty. -2 will give her 2 of those clues. And then for action 3, we'll gamble on a Drawn to the Flame. Hopefully this won't bork us too badly. So let's see what Jacqueline draws from the top of the deck. Mysterious Chanting, we saw this earlier, placing 2 doom on the nearest cultist enemy, which would be... Well, the Fanatics are both cultists, and they're both equidistant, so we'll put 2 doom on one of those. But Jacqueline will get the 2 clues off the location. I didn't want to gamble on 2 Drawn to the Flames. I didn't want to gamble on the first Drawn to the Flame pulling an enemy, and then having to pause my clue gathering to deal with that. So, now we have 2 clues left on the location, and that's it for Jacqueline's turn. Mandy's turn will bring us down to her play area. Actually, before we move down to Mandy's play area, I did almost forget. Since we didn't take a draw action this turn, Visions in Your Mind Hatred does trigger. So Jacqueline has to take 1 direct damage and horror, but she gets to discard Visions in Your Mind Hatred. So there's the 1 and 1. Now that that's all handled, now we can move down to Mandy. Technically, we have the 6 clues we need to get out of this, to advance the act, but I want to see if I can get some experience first. So for action 1, Mandy's going to investigate up 2, and Jacqueline will commit Drawn to the Flame to put her up 3, since the skulls are actually -3s right now. So Mandy's up 3. -2 gives me a clue and a resource from Milan. I don't think this is going to matter anyway. Action 2 will run the investigate back, and Jacqueline will... I expect this is the end of the scenario, so actually... Jacqueline, no, she's not going to commit Twill. I was thinking about that. Up 2 should be fine. -1 gives me the last clue. Along with another resource, but I don't think the resource matters because we have the 6 clues we need to spend and advance the act. The Clasp. As you study the hidden library, you find a few pieces of information that stand out. As with the recent production, the previous performance of The King in Yellow came to Arkham from overseas and was performed by a French acting troupe. You don't recognize any of the cast members' names, and of course the actor who played the role of the stranger is anonymous. However, it seems that a member of the Historical Society has done some of the work for you. There are several old newspaper clippings gathered together along with information about the play. Headlines include, Cedar Playhouse closes due to fire, experts baffled over freak floods, and the like. Hidden amongst the information You also find a strange object, a clasp of onyx with an alien inscription. The investigators must decide. Choose one. This is an important discovery. We should take it. R1. It's just a silly trinket, and it would be wrong to steal from the Historical Society. Leave it behind. R2. This did not focus for me at all while I was reading any of that. So let me see if I can get that to focus so you can pause and read it for yourself. I think we are going to take the clasp. We're going to take the clasp of onyx. So let's move back up top for R1. All right, here is Resolution 1.
Resolution 1. There are no coincidences when it comes to the King in Yellow. There is no doubt in your mind that the object you found is important. You decide to take it with you before continuing your investigation. The last record you find related to the original production of The King in Yellow is a psychiatric evaluation of one Daniel Chesterfield, a stagehand who lost his wits after the final show. It seems he was admitted to the asylum after the production ended. Perhaps he's still there. In your campaign log, record that you took the Onyx clasp. Mark one conviction in your campaign log. For the remainder of the campaign, one investigator must include the clasp of Black Onyx weakness in his or her deck. This card does not count toward that investigator's deck size.
All right, before we continue on with the rest of the resolution, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the clasp of Black Onyx. A gift unlooked for, 1 cost to play. While clasp of Black Onyx is in your hand, increase the cost of each other card in your hand by 1. It was neither Arabic nor Chinese, nor as I found afterwards did it belong to any human script. Robert W. Chambers, the Yellow Sign, the King in Yellow. I'm going to give that to Jacqueline, so let me make a note of that. She's also the bearer of the Man in the Pallid Mask, so her deck is starting to get as clogged with weaknesses as Mandy's is. But this one isn't that catastrophic, probably in the grand scheme of things. Continue.
Each investigator earns experience equal to the Victory X value of each card in the Victory display. If Sebastian Moreau, Savage Hysteria, is in the Victory display, record his name in your campaign log under VIP's Slain. Remove all Cultist, Rune, and Elder Thing tokens from the Chaos bag. Then, add 2 Cultist tokens to the Chaos bag.
Right. I think we had already added 2 cultists to the Chaos bag last week, so they will just, 2 cultists in the bag, so they'll just stay in the bag, and the bag will be unchanged for the next scenario. In fact, I will go ahead and pull that out since I already dumped the tokens out to check. But let me just go ahead and get this bag up real quick. Okay. And the bag of extra tokens is in there. Okay, good. Alright, so that will do it for this playthrough of Return to Echoes of the Past. We'd actually already slain Sebastian at the party, so no worries on that front. But that will do it for this scenario. We'll be back later this afternoon probably to spend the experience that we gained, the 2 experience. I expect it'll just be upgrading more cards, more boxes on the customizable card. And the customizable cards, but we'll come back to that in a minute. Wednesday we're headed back out to the Atlantic Ocean during World War II as we recall Corvette and Capitan Zimmer to active duty in the Hunters. Next week the fall campaign continues with the 4th scenario, Return to the Unspeakable Oath. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.